You ever find yourself in a sticky situation where you need to change the scenario, but you don't necessarily know how to do it politely? Well, Emily Post-trained etiquette expert Courtney Fadler is here to share a little bit of wisdom to help you handle those situations. Courtney, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here as always. There's always these variety of, I always find myself in these situations. What is it about me that puts me in these situations? And I don't know what to say.
Just land yourself there, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So we got some great scenarios set up here. I'm anxious to find out your tips for handling them, okay? So first off, we're just going to start off, people who ask nosy questions. I mean, maybe I was off work yesterday and somebody wants to know where I was. Well, it's none of your business.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to ask a relationship question. None of your business.
Yeah.
How do I deal with people who ask nosy questions?
Yeah, I mean.
Like me. Am I asking a nosy question right now?
How much do you make? Tell me. No, kidding. No, you're exactly right. Like, we all deal with this, like the nosy coworker, the nosy neighbor, like, and maybe they don't even mean to be, of course, but it happens. And so here's a couple guidelines on a good way to kind of unstick the situation. First, you can deflect with humor, and that's really where I would say, like, that's your first go-to, right? Like, oh goodness, I'd tell you all about that, but I'd probably bore you to death. You know, tell me about your weekend. Like, just kind of do a little humble humor if you can.
Push it back on them a little bit.
Yeah, push it back if you can. If that's not working, and especially if it's something that's a little more serious, there's really two things you can do. You know, you can kind of say something to the effect of, you know, it's been kind of difficult lately. I'm not quite ready to talk about it, but I so appreciate your concern.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know, maybe I'll be ready to talk about it next week. Thanks for asking.
Oh, yeah.
And if that still doesn't get you anywhere, you can literally just sort of say, you know, I just can't talk about it right now, but thank you. So.
But if you have to wait till that third time, they should probably pick up the hint by then.
Yeah, but you know, if they're asking, it might take that much. So.
All right, moving on to gifts. If you find out someone has received the gift that you sent them, and maybe a wedding gift or birthday gift that was sent, but weeks have gone by without any acknowledgement. They didn't send the thank you note.
Yep. Has this ever happened to you?
Oh, I don't follow up the thank you notes.
He doesn't follow it, exactly. Exactly, yeah. So here's the deal. Like, absolutely, there's really sort of just a couple situations. First, I would say, what's your motive? Like, you know you sent the gift, you saw the tracking number arrive at their house, and really you're just doing it because you want to find out why you didn't receive the thank you note. Yeah. Right? Like, that happens.
So is that kind of back on me then? Or
so
on...
my point there is, don't follow up. Like, you know it arrived, they just didn't respond, so, you know, the gracious thing to do is just, you know
so I'm being the gracious person.
You're gracious, because you're not going to do it. Yes. Now, if it's a situation where maybe you sent something or sent it with someone else and you're legitimately, you don't know if they never got it, you know, give them a few weeks, because it might take a few times to dig out of gifts and send those thank you notes. Give them a few weeks, but then it would be okay to kind of maybe say, hey, and explain the situation. You know, hey, I sent this, but I never got a tracking number. I just want to make sure you got it. Yeah, no big deal, but just wanted to make sure. But otherwise, you know, kind of leave it alone if you didn't really receive it.
All right, I understand, Bill, there. This one gets me a little bit. Avoid a handshake if you're sick or if the other person is sick. We're getting to cold and flu season here. I don't necessarily want to shake Bob's hands if Bob's been sneezing in his hands here all morning long.
Right, exactly. Like, we've all probably been in a situation where somebody like kind of does one of these or something like that, or they come in and they sound really sick, you know, and you're like, oh man, I don't really want to shake their hand.
Or even sit in the chair they used to be sitting in. You know?
You got your hand sanitizer. Here's the deal. You can avoid a hug. You cannot avoid a handshake.
Oh no, so just go for it.
You gotta just go for it. There's more harm done in avoiding a handshake. You know, people can be very offended by that, especially in a business situation. So if you feel like it's a scenario you're not in love with, you still do the handshake, then you can discreetly use the hand sanitizer or discreetly go wash your hands in the bathroom and come back. But there's always a way to handle it.
Excuse yourself, walk away. All right.
Exactly.
This is the next. I got to fly here in a couple weeks, and I always get stuck behind the kid kicking me or somebody who wants to push their seat back. And hey, my tray table is right where I want it. Thank you very much. How do I deal with this?
Exactly. So I feel like I've seen this handled so many different ways on airplanes. That's
and
why
probably
I like to
all the wrong way too.
Yeah, so many ways. So here's the best way to handle it. If you, for instance, like, you know, the person who's maybe got the child, I mean, nobody has any room these days anyway. Yeah. The person who's got the child on the lap and then somebody comes back and you're just like, oh my gosh, now we're really there. What you can do is right up front, you know, maybe tap the person in front of you and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm going to have a lap child today, so just in case, you know, you were thinking of reclining, you know, we're a little tight. Or I'm going to be working on this plane and I've got my computer out. I just wanted to let you know if you could let me know before you come back. It's kind of a polite way to maybe encourage them not to bring their seat back.
Okay.
If you're in the reverse position and like somebody's kicking your seat, my best polite guidance on that is, do not directly address the child. And I've seen people
Yes.
do this, especially if they've got parents next to them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can take it to the parent if you prefer. Otherwise, I say just ignore it. My husband actually texted me like from a flight not long ago, and he was like, okay, there's 30 minutes left in the flight. Do I say something or do I not?
Just
and I was
put
like,
up
you
with
don't.
it?
You just hang in there. It'll be all right.
All right, and then are we going to do the kid's wedding invite is the last one. What's up with, so is this when like you're, if the wedding invite is just addressed to you, it doesn't say kids?
Like if you don't know if kids are invited or not. And this happens a lot. And have you noticed, by the way, people are getting very clever about how they're putting on invitations, no kids, you know, there's all these like clever things. So there's good ways to do it. But the rule of thumb is if your kids' names are not listed directly on the invitation, they are not invited. So do not call up the bride or the groom and say, hey, are kids invited? Are they okay to come? Because that's, you know, then that puts them in a embarrassing situation.
Embarrassing situation, sure. All right. Well, Courtney, we appreciate your time. I feel like I'm going to be much more polite in my going out here in the next few weeks. We appreciate it.
Alrighty.
Belinda.